Every camera ad tells you the same thing: more megapixels, more speed, buy now. Most of that spec sheet doesn't matter for the photos you actually take. The camera that wins for a wildlife shooter would be the wrong choice on a city street, and nobody selling you the gear says that part out loud. The best camera in 2026 isn't the one with the biggest number. It's the one built around how you actually shoot. A sensor tuned for cropped landscapes fails a sports shooter, and a body built for 30 frames a second is dead weight in your coat pocket. Resolution, autofocus systems, and even the shape of the body all pull in different directions depending on the work. In this video, I'm breaking down the top 7 best cameras for photographers in 2026, highlighting key features, real-world performance, and exactly what makes each one worth your money. Links are in the description, products are in the pinned comment. Let's get into it. Number 7. Ricoh GR4. The GR4 carries forward Ricoh's signature large sensor compact formula, pairing an APS-C sensor with a fixed 28mm equivalent lens in a body small enough to disappear into a coat pocket entirely, a combination no other manufacturer has matched with the same commitment to pocketability over feature bloat. The lens and sensor assembly is tuned specifically for edge-to-edge sharpness at wide apertures, a priority for street and documentary photographers who need consistent image quality across an entire frame rather than a soft-cornered result. Snap Focus, Ricoh's zone focusing system, lets a photographer preset a focus distance and shoot instantly without waiting on autofocus hunting, a workflow built specifically for fast, unplanned street photography where the moment does not wait for a camera to lock focus. Physical controls are dense but genuinely customizable, letting an experienced shooter change exposure settings with one hand without lifting the camera to their eye, though continuous autofocus tracking remains noticeably behind flagship interchangeable lens bodies and is not the camera's intended strength. There is no viewfinder on this model, keeping the body as slim as possible, which suits photographers comfortable composing on the rear screen. This camera is built for photographers who prioritize always having a capable camera on them over having the fastest autofocus available, ideal for daily carry, travel, and documentary work where creative reflex matters more than tracking speed. Against bulkier compact cameras with slower primes, the GR4 wins decisively on pocketability and lens sharpness, and in 2026 it remains the cult favorite for photographers who shoot every single day. Number 6. Fujifilm X106. The X106 houses a 40.2 megapixel APS-C sensor and a fixed 23mm lens, equivalent to 35mm on full frame, built directly into a compact rangefinder-style body that fits in a jacket pocket, a form factor that has made this camera one of the most sought-after street and travel cameras of the decade. In-body image stabilization is new to this generation, correcting a long-standing limitation of the fixed-lens X100 line and allowing genuinely sharp handheld shots in dim interiors and evening streets. The hybrid viewfinder switches between an optical finder with a digital overlay and a fully electronic finder at the flip of a lever, giving a photographer the choice between a traditional rangefinder shooting experience and precise focus is noticeably improved over the previous generation, though it remains a step behind interchangeable lens flagship bodies when tracking genuinely erratic subjects. A fair trade-off given the camera's compact single-lens design. This camera is built for street, travel, and documentary photographers who value discretion, and a camera that invites spontaneous shooting over one that demands deliberate setup. Against bulkier interchangeable lens systems that draw attention on the street, the X100-6 wins decisively on portability and candid usability, and in 2026, it remains the camera photographers reach for when they simply want to go out and shoot. Number 5. Nikon Z9. The Z9 pairs a 45.7 megapixel stacked full-frame sensor with a fully electronic shutter and no mechanical shutter mechanism at all, a design decision that eliminates shutter-induced vibration entirely while enabling 20 frames per second bursts with a buffer deep enough to capture over 1,000 consecutive raw frames without slowing down, a specification built specifically for photographers who cannot afford to miss a moment. Nikon's 3D subject tracking autofocus, trained on deep learning recognition across 9 subject categories including birds, has become the benchmark that wildlife photographers measure every other system against, locking onto erratic, fast-moving subjects with a consistency that dramatically reduces missed shots in the field. The magnesium alloy body integrates a vertical grip directly into the chassis rather than as a detachable accessory, giving it exceptional balance with long telephoto lenses and weather sealing rated for genuinely harsh outdoor conditions. Dual CF Express card slots handle the sustained write speeds this sensor and burst rate demand, and the bright high-refresh electronic viewfinder shows zero blackout even during maximum speed bursts, keeping the subject visible through the entire sequence. This camera is built for wildlife, sports, and photojournalism work where autofocus reliability and burst depth directly determine whether a photographer walks away with the shot. Against every mirrorless competitor claiming comparable speed, the Z9 wins on sustained real-world reliability across thousands of frames rather than short marketing bursts, and in 2026, it remains the standard-bearer for professional action and wildlife photography. Number 4. Sony A7R6. The A7R6 is built around a 66.8-megapixel full-frame stacked sensor, the highest resolution currently available in any full-frame body, and because the sensor is fully stacked, rather than using a slower conventional readout, it also shoots at up to 30 frames per second with continuous autofocus tracking, a combination that previously did not exist at this resolution. Sony rates the sensor at 16 stops of dynamic range, a genuine improvement over the previous generation that shows up directly in recovered shadow detail on high-contrast landscape and architectural work. In-body stabilization compensates for the demanding resolution, keeping handheld shots sharp even at slower shutter speeds, and the sensor's resolution allows a photographer to crop into APS-C territory and still retain roughly 28 megapixels, effectively giving reach-limited wildlife or sports shooters a second focal length without a second lens. Magnesium alloy body carries full weather sealing, dual CF Express compatible card slots for the right speeds this sensor demands, and Sony's latest AI-based subject recognition autofocus, refined across years of flagship development. The E-mount lens ecosystem remains the deepest in the industry by 2026, spanning first-party and third-party glass at every price point. This camera is built specifically for landscape, architecture, and studio photographers who print large and crop aggressively, where every additional megapixel translates directly into usable detail. Against every other full-frame body on the market, the A7R6 wins outright on resolution without sacrificing speed, and in 2026, it is the clearest choice for anyone whose work demands maximum sensor performance. Number 3. Canon EOS R6 Mark III. The R6 Mark III uses a 32.5 megapixel full-frame stacked sensor, a meaningful jump in resolution over the previous generation while retaining the fast blackout-free electronic shutter readout that made the R6 line a favorite for fast-moving subjects. Canon's dual-pixel autofocus system with deep learning subject recognition tracks eyes, faces, and bodies across people, animals, and vehicles with a reliability that holds up even in difficult backlit or low-contrast scenes, a real advantage for portrait and event photographers who cannot afford missed focus on a single, irreplaceable moment. In-body stabilization rated at up to 8 stops when combined with compatible RF lenses allows handheld shooting in conditions that would otherwise demand a tripod, and the magnesium alloy body carries professional-grade weather sealing rated for sustained outdoor use. Dual card slots, a fully articulating screen, and a high-resolution electronic viewfinder round out a body clearly built around real-world shooting workflows rather than spec sheet bragging rights. The RF lens mount has expanded considerably by 2026, with Canon and third-party manufacturers now covering nearly every focal length and price point a photographer would need. This camera is built for photographers who want one body capable of portraits, events, travel, and casual wildlife work without needing a second specialized system suited to anyone shooting professionally or seriously as a hobbyist. Against flagship bodies charging a significant premium for marginal speed gains most photographers never need, the R6 Mark III wins on balance and value, and in 2026 it remains Canon's strongest all-round recommendation for photography-focused shooters. Number 2. Fujifilm X-T5. The X-T5 pairs a 40.2 megapixel APS-C X-Trans sensor with Fujifilm's 5th generation X processor, delivering resolution that rivals full-frame cameras costing considerably more while keeping the body and lens system dramatically smaller and lighter for travel and everyday carry. In-body stabilization rated at up to 7 stops compensates for the smaller sensor's inherent depth of field advantages, and the dedicated film simulation dial lets a photographer dial in Fujifilm's signature color science directly on the body without touching a menu, a workflow advantage that has made this camera a favorite among photographers who shoot JPEGs straight out of camera. The all-metal chassis uses classic dial-based controls for shutter speed, ISO, and exposure compensation rather than modern mode wheels. A deliberate design choice that keeps the shooting experience tactile and fast once a photographer learns the layout. Weather sealing covers the body against dust and light moisture, and dual SD card slots support the same UHS-2 speeds professionals rely on. The APS-C X-mount lens lineup is exceptionally deep by 2026, spanning affordable primes to professional-grade zooms, giving this system genuine flexibility without the cost of full-frame glass. This camera suits travel, street, and portrait photographers who value image quality and shooting feel over shallow depth of field extremes, and it remains lightweight enough for all-day handheld use. Against full-frame cameras with similar resolution but double the weight and cost, the X-T5 wins on portability and character, and in 2026 it stands as the reference point for what a photography-first APS-C camera should be. Number 1. Nikon Z5 II. The Z5 II uses a 24.5 megapixel full-frame BSI CMOS sensor paired with Nikon's Xpeed 7 processing engine, the same processor found in Nikon's flagship bodies, which gives this entry-level, full-frame camera autofocus subject detection covering people, animals, and vehicles that used to be exclusive to cameras costing 3 times as much. In-body image stabilization rated at up to 7.5 stops allows genuinely usable handheld shots in low light without a tripod, and the sensor shift mechanism doubles as the basis for a 96 megapixel high-resolution composite mode for landscape and studio photographers who need extra detail. The body uses a magnesium alloy chassis with weather sealing rated for professional field use, dual card slots for redundant backup while shooting, and a fully articulating touchscreen alongside a bright electronic viewfinder that stays clear even in direct sunlight. The Z-mount lens ecosystem has matured significantly by 2026, with affordable f1.8 primes and professional S-line glass covering nearly every focal length a photographer would need. This camera is built for someone upgrading from an APS-C body or a smartphone into their first serious full-frame system, equally capable in a studio, at a wedding, or on a landscape trip, and its price point undercuts nearly every competitor offering equivalent autofocus sophistication. Against pricier full-frame bodies loaded with video features most stills photographers ignore, the Z5 II wins by delivering the autofocus and image quality that actually matters without charging for headroom you will never use. And in 2026 it remains the clearest answer to who should buy their first full-frame camera. So, that wraps up our list of the best top 7 camera for photography. If this video was useful to you, kindly click the thumbs up button. Which one will you pick? Describe your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for your time. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an updates. Everyone who had come this far, I'm hoping to see you in the next video.